Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Build Different podcast with Tucker Speed. In this episode, I was joined by a local painter who's been in the game for a long time, Adam Paul of Timewarp Custom Paint, and his new product line, Limeline, selling paint products. We talked about his journey in the industry from learning to paint, painting custom motorcycles, helmets, and anything he could get his hands on, and transitioning his business model into selling products and social media influencing and instructing people how to custom paint. It's a really cool story. I was really excited to have a good conversation with him. We had a great conversation about a local legend, a mutual friend of ours who had passed away, and it was really great to have a good conversation about that. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. But first, remember to go on, leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. It really helps us grow the channel, keep some new content coming, new guests. We're really excited to keep this thing growing, so please help us out in that way. And just don't forget, if you need any accessories, performance parts, check out our website, tuckerspeed.com. Enjoy the episode.
Making power by day, making friends at night. Build different. Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother.
Rolling.
All right.
All right, man. So this is episode 11. I'm joined today by a local painter, Adam Paul of Timewarp Custom Paint. I've been doing it for a long time now. And his new product line, Limeline. And we're going to get into all of that, talk more about Timewarp, what Timewarp is, what Timewarp was. I mean, you got a pretty good history that I'm excited to talk about with you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here for sure.
So, and on to our listener question of the episode. I mean, we talk about this every episode, and we haven't been very good about talking about the questions, but we did get a bunch of questions in the last week or so. So I got a question here from, it came through Instagram from @Dante.fxlr, and feel free to chime in here.
Yeah.
But he's asking, what advice would you give to someone trying to get into the industry? And that's kind of hard to answer because it depends on really what it is like he's wanting to do, or, like what are your current skill sets? I mean, do you have any mechanical knowledge or experience or backgrounds at all? I mean, are you more of an artistic guy, like, maybe getting into paint or something like that? I mean, my path was I went through MMI. I grew up working on my own dirt bikes and ATVs as a kid and had a fairly, decent foundation for mechanics. But I mean, MMI is one, but that kind of like the MMI path kind of funnels you down the path of you go through the school, they kind of like shove down your throat the kind of the dealership kind of model, like, using, you use the Harley Davidson service repair manuals, their parts books, how to service right at a dealership. Everything they do is focused on like working in a dealership. That's why when I moved home from Phoenix, my next step was going into a dealership. And after 7 or 8 years in a dealership, I realized I kind of wanted more out of the industry. I mean, but if you have a background in fabrication, maybe that's more along the lines. You should find a shop that, is, looking, or is it an experienced or, well-known fab shop? Go in there and start learning from those guys. You could definitely learn just as much. And that's the same for the mechanical side too. If you want to work on Harleys, do oil changes, tire changes, repairs, custom builds, whatever, you can learn from. If you can get lucky enough to find someone with a shop like ours or something similar that will bring you in, take you under their wing, teach you everything they know, like that's really, I think, best case.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like after MMI, and I haven't been, that's not the path I took, but I feel like once you get a job, that's where the real learning begins.
For sure.
I mean, you got the fundamentals, which is very, very important because without those, it's really hard to move on. And a lot of stuff probably doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
I'm speaking for what I know from painting. But to answer that question, I would say try everything. If you don't have a skill that you've developed yet, try welding. Apprentice. Try to get an apprenticeship somewhere. See if you actually like doing the job. That's what I would say. Try custom paint. Some people like it. Most people love it. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I mean, you fall in love with stuff. I would say that would be the most important to do because if you don't actually love the job, there could be a good chance that you're not gonna.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've talked to a lot of people that have come to me personally, and they've said, hey, I'm looking to go to MMI, or I want to get into the industry. Like, what's your advice? And I just tell them straight up, like, this is not a job that you're ever going to get rich doing. Like, you're not ever going to make a ton of money. It's a job that you do it because you love it. And
Exactly.
and if you don't love turning wrenches, or if you don't love painting, or whatever it is, like, and I should say you're not ever going to make a ton of money, because there are exceptions, and I don't want to like discourage someone from going out there and trying to make a ton of money. There are avenues, but in the beginning, for sure, like you're gonna just live on paycheck to paycheck for a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough ride.
Whether you're a custom bike builder, a dyno tuner, just running a service shop, doing custom paint, no matter what it is you're going to do, you're going to have to do that for 10, 15 years. And then maybe if you're good enough after that, you can start charging a premium, and maybe you can make some money, take a little more time off. But in the beginning, you're going to sweat and earn it.
Yeah, and I think over time too, what you can bank off what you know rather than what you do. I feel like too. So if you there's certain things you know how to do, you can leverage that
For sure.
as you age and start to know the industry a little better.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you said it right. Like, find a shop, find an apprentice or whatever. Like, if buy some tools and work on your own bike. Buy a welder, start grabbing 2 pieces of metal and welding them together. Buy a little paint gun.
Buy an
mess around with
airbrush,
it. Yeah.
buy some tape,
Whatever.
see if you can do a two-tone.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do, really.
And find out which one excites you, because that's going to give you the best recipe for success. Is if you love doing it, then you're going to go into whatever that is and be more successful.
Oh, absolutely. I remember in my career when I was first painting, not to get off, no, we were talking about this question, but yeah, I just remember being in the booth and I literally cannot take my eyes off of like something I just painted. Like maybe it was the first time I painted metal flake in a certain way with this certain candy. And it's just like I one up myself, and I literally, sometimes you just can't take your eyes off it. It's like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you have that kind of passion to where, you have to pursue it, and it's going to be tough at first, but
There's got to be a certain amount of passion involved, no matter what it is you're doing. Turning wrenches, welding, bending pipe, shaping metal, painting it. There's got to be some passion involved with it, because that's just how the industry works. Like, everybody that's successful that I know has a certain amount of passion for what it is they're doing.
yeah.
So,
And we're lucky to really work in this industry. If you were to stand back and look, and we could be punching the clock at some warehouse or something like that.
for sure. I have to constantly remind myself that. I mean, there are definitely days where I come in and I, totally hate my job. I hate what I'm doing because, nothing seems to be going right today. And this customer's pissed off and this employee's upset or whatever, or screwing up or whatever the case may be. But I have to constantly remind myself. I mean, I did about a year in a factory. But after I left the dealership and started here, and that was miserable. So I know what that feels like.
Yeah, I bet.
And I don't want to go back there. So every time I'm just like, God, I hate this place. I'm over this. I have to remember, oh, it could be a whole lot worse. I could
Yeah.
be clocking in over there.
And there's a whole lot of people wishing they would be doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
And if you think of it that way, it's like you've made a name for yourself.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So
But yeah, the answer, the quick answer to that really is find what you're passionate about and work hard
for sure.
at it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Passionate, work hard.
Yeah. And how can it not work?
Find,
I mean, if you're that passionate about it, how can it not work, really? Like,
well, and really, if you're that passionate, how hard is that work?
it's not even work, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. So
Yeah, especially
it's
when
a
you get
lot
over
of
the
time.
hump, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of time and a lot of commitment. But if you're loving what you're doing, it's not really hard work.
Right.
So yeah. Something I want to touch on before we start talking about Adam's business and everything that he's into is the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally. It's Labor Day weekend, August 31st through September 4th. We're pretty involved with the rally. We are hosting an after-hours party on Friday night at the La Plata County Fairgrounds at the the exhibition hall. We're going to be throwing a party. I hope everybody comes out to the rally, and then not only that, shows up to the after party. So it's Friday night starts at 10 o'clock at the fairgrounds. Everybody's welcome. Show up, hang out. I think there's going to be a lot of people from the industry, stunt riders, different brands, different companies. So it's going to be a fun time. You can find all the details about that. We're going to be really promoting that heavy over the next couple of weeks on Instagram. If you have any questions, please hit us up. But we're going to really start hitting that hard because we're really excited about the rally and being involved with those guys. So if you have any questions, check us out. Check out the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally on Instagram or their website. All the information is there. So that
Sounds cool.
yeah, right on. So let's talk about you, Adam.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Where do we start? I mean,
Well, I came from my mom.
well, that's
That's
me too. We got
yeah,
that
but
in
I
common.
think we'll just jump. Maybe we'll jump up.
Jump up a couple of years?
Maybe we'll go with 22 years.
I mean, let's just talk about first, like what you're doing today. Let's start.
Today.
Let's maybe start there, and we'll work backwards.
Okay. Well, basically, I run a brand. The brand's called Limeline. It's just something that I kind of curated from doing affiliate marketing for a while and trying to get brand deals and stuff like that. But I created a custom paint brand. Pretty much what I do is I'll find manufacturers. I will test the products, and they'll either pass or they'll fail. As easy as that.
And just so I know, like products, we're talking everything from paint, flake, guns,
Airbrushes,
tape,
masking tape. We're talking paint suits, pigment colors, clear coats, primers, stencils, leafing supplies. I feel like the leafing supplies has really made an impact on the industry. And I just that's kind of my main gig is to find products like that and add them to the brand. So basically, it's I do a lot of product development. And a lot of things is what I'll do is I'll take those products once they pass, I'll create videos, and I'll show people how to use it. So whether it's a YouTube or whether it's a quick 15 or 30-second TikTok or an Instagram reel or just a regular photo or whatever it is, I use the social media platform to basically not really like push the brand. Like, I don't want to show them me mixing paint. You know, like, okay, here's the paint color. Here's the new orange metallic that I came up with. I would rather tape something up and lay it down so they would learn something from it. So I come from the approach of trying to inspire people to learn, and those that are already, trying to make it in the custom paint world, which is, it doesn't take much really. You can do two tones and stuff like that. But I try to help them in their skills, to bring their skills up, and just kind of go from there. So I do a lot with the brand. YouTube videos. Every Thursday night we go live. We answer questions, and I'll do some kind of a painting, like that helmet we have right there, a little mini helmet. That's just something quick that we kind of lay out, and my wife she'll read me the questions that usually we get a couple hundred people on there. We get a lot of questions, and we can answer those, show how the products work, and hopefully inspire people to give it a shot. Really. There's definitely money to be made there, and there's definitely a lot of customers. So if you got good work, you can make it happen. So that's what I try to do. I try to inspire people every day. I'll do this. I will pick up jobs here and there. Like I'll do, if it's a chopper and I know that I can use the flake and I can show somebody and I can create some kind of value out of that, I'll take the job. The nice thing is I'll take the job. I get paid for the job. That's awesome. It's like the olden days, Sometimes I forget I even get paid to paint. Like usually my mindset is I'm painting this to show people how this is done. It's not about the paycheck. It's really
like if you just buy this helmet, you're painting it, but you're not getting paid the way you're getting paid is through selling product or the YouTube, just the ads, Sure.
Ads, and then also Amazon affiliate. Kind of have everything. I kind of have things set up in a way that where I'm able to monetize in a number of different ways. So the olden days, I'd paint a bike, I'd get a paycheck after the bike was done. Now I paint a bike, I still get that paycheck, but I'm monetizing all of the content in between, which I have some videos, some image transfers that I've done. Within 2 months, I've already made more on the as far as the affiliate commissions and the ads on YouTube. That it just overtakes what I actually charged for the job, which is awesome. I feel like that's such a win,
Well, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't be like super stoked if I wish that I could like charge X amount to like build do a big bore and then get paid again because someone's watching how to do it.
Yeah, you can do it. It just takes time. That's right. You can absolutely 100% do that, and you can make, you're in a niche that I feel like there's enough viewership that would get you over that monetization mark, and then you make a little bit at first, but then you hit a video that maybe can hit a couple million, and then it starts to pay, quite a bit much more than what I actually charged to do the job,
do that.
Which is awesome. I never really thought about that. So
was that the plan, like in the beginning, or did that happen by mistake? Like as far as like where the money's coming from, like did you charge a guy to like paint his bike and then just by mistake, all of a sudden like that video just went viral and then it was like a light went off, or was it all planned?
It was, I knew I had to hustle. That when I started doing the YouTube thing, and that was before I came up with my brand. I was just a painter. 2020 is actually when it happened. My buddy was telling me for a year before he was a YouTuber. He did firearms and stuff like that. He's all, man, and I would pay him to come in and do some videos for me. It's just some short stuff, like mostly videos to show people like, hey, I'm a painter. You send your parts to me, I'll paint them and ship them back to you. And I made a career for literally 15 years, people shipping me in their parts. I paint them and ship them back, which that model worked for me so well because then I didn't have customers coming in.
Yeah.
And another stuff like that. So I worked like that for many, many years. And then Instagram started doing the stories. And you remember when the stories came about? Yeah. I don't know if you know Instagram, but yeah, the stories was there, and you were able to do like the boomerang effect, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. I'm actually like gaining. I'm like, and then I found like, man, the videos that are doing better are the ones that are adding value. So instead of showing people what I can do, it was as easy as showing people what they could do or how it's done. And if they weren't interested, hey, it's still interesting to know how something was made. Like a lot of, especially guys, like, you know, remember that old video, that old newscast, was it on Discovery Channel, how it's made, and, you know, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It always
I
kind
watched
of
that.
draws.
Yeah, I watched that shit.
I mean, like, that's kind of how I took that approach. Like, how is that made? So if you're not interested in custom painting, well, at least you can see, like, oh, that's how they tape up flames.
Done. Yeah.
Like, flames are done with tape.
I never
had no
thought
idea.
about it like that, but yeah, I think you're right, because I mean, like I said, I legit watched that, like how it's made stuff. Like, I'm never gonna make like all the crazy stuff that they show on that show, but like I'm still like very drawn and like glued into the like what it is they're making, and seeing the process behind
like,
it.
holy crap! Like, I had no ideas there was like that many layers to a paint job, or just what the tape, fine line tape, can do. Even transparent candy paint. You know, most people don't know what a candy paint is. It's basically a transparent paint that goes over top, makes things amazing. You know, that's why lowriders look so good and everything like that. So I started adding value, and then 2020, my buddy told me, "You're gonna kill it on YouTube. You just need to do it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." And he told me, "Just start dirty. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. You're not gonna like your first video." And he was right. I liked it at first because, like, oh yeah, I got a first YouTube video, but then I got a couple under my belt. I'm like, man, that number one's not very good.
Yeah.
So the
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, and I still have them up. I still have all those up, and some of them have done really well, and it has like an intro, because I always thought, like, okay, YouTube video, you need an intro, so I need to be standing here telling him, you know, telling the viewers what they're about ready to see, you know. So I have, that's kind of how it was at first. I'm not good on camera. I found what I was good at. Basically, my family jokes that I do puppet shows. Like, we'll joke around, like, yeah, my dad does puppet shows on YouTube. That's basically, it's just my two hands. You know, working the thing, you know, I'm just, this hand's doing this hand. I haven't took it as far as I got a pink glove and a black glove, and I have like a relationship between these two hands. And you'll see, I have a video coming up actually that I call it the glove love video. That it's really stupid. I actually feel like kind of an idiot for making it, but I love to make, I love it because it's entertaining. It has a story behind it. So I'm painting the same kind of helmet that you saw earlier, kind of similar to that. Two gloves, meet, one's doing the work. This guy comes in, he sweeps in. Oh, it shows her how to use an airbrush, you know? Look, push down, pull back. Wow. Look, oh, and then they're like, oh, they get a little closer. It's really dumb. It's really stupid. But
have you felt like some of those like crazy, like off the wall videos are more successful?
No, not unless
Not
this
always?
next one. Not unless this next one hits it real good. And I'm hoping it does, but I could change my mind on that. But so far, the ones that I feel like are going to do the best usually don't. It's weird. It's like the ones that I've found a few things that if I wanted to do videos on nothing but image transfers, I can literally just, I would do really good. I mean, every video would do pretty well because there's an audience for that, which was surprising to me, you know. And then also, but you know, there's other videos that now that I have built an audience, it's changed now. You know, now I'm not really. Before it was like, okay, I need to get subscribers so I can build an audience. So I need to build a viral video. Either that or put a whole bunch of ads, you know, ad spend behind it, push it out. That's not going to work either. You really just need you know, a good video. So when I first started YouTube, it was, like I said, slow. I did the first video, which was one of my better videos, actually. So I think I had a total of 7 videos out within a 2-month span of tutorial style custom paint videos. And then I think it's cool because I don't know if you know this, but like on YouTube, if you go into the back end to YouTube Studio, it has like a little gauge that tells you like how close you are to the 1,000 subscribers to get monetized. And then you also need the 200 something thousand watch minutes in order to get monetized. Once you hit those monetization marks, you can go back and basically put ads on all your videos. So you just click the button. You don't put the ads. You just click the button. It puts ads on there for you, which is great. So I got to that point where that's what I was shooting for. I think that's everybody's goal when you first start YouTube, is like, okay, let's get the 1,000 subscribers. That's going to get me monetized, and then I can at least make a little bit of money. When I first started, I had no idea. Like, I didn't know if I was going to make $5 one day or $100 in a day. You know, I wasn't sure. I just knew that I was just going to add value, you know, and do the best I could. And I started dirty. They weren't good at all, but I got better. Every video got a little bit better. And I really just find adding value really helped me out. And then a couple months into it, I think I was like at 800 subscribers, and I think I was 3/4 of the way to my hourly monetization mark to start getting paid. And within an hour, this is where I first kind of felt the power of social media and YouTube. Within the first hour, I doubled. I went from 900, I think 800 subscribers to like 1,500, 2,000. It just kept going up, and then I hit my monetization within that first hour. And I was expected to hit it within a month or so.
What happened there to change that? Like just a specific video?
It was a video. It actually took my, I can't remember if it was my first or second video, but it was already been out for a couple months.
Oh, so it'd been out. It wasn't like a new video.
No. So don't give up. Don't give up on those videos. And I didn't know YouTube at the time. I now know how YouTube acts, somewhat. You know, I don't know everything, but I kind of know my way around it now. But it put me in monetization real quick, which I'm like, oh, yes, monetize. I'm going to go back up to my 7 videos. We're putting massive, clicking all the ads you could possibly do. You could do there's a lot of different ad types, but you turn those babies on. It was making like $20 a day or something like that. Actually, while that video was rolling and going viral, so it took that video that had around 1,500 views. Within 3 days, it took it to just short of 1 million views.
Oh, wow.
So after it was said and done, because it never stays on the top, it literally goes, look, this video went up to as high as I've ever seen anything at that time. And then a couple days trickled down, maybe it had another little tick up, and then back down, and it landed a little bit above where normal would be, But the nice thing is that video also took a couple of my other videos with it. Because, once you watch one video and you watch the whole thing, there's a good chance they're going to recommend another one. Yeah. So it's, and then I was also able to use techniques to where I could add an end screen to put them into another video. So there's certain stuff like that. But yeah, it got me into monetize, made some money that way. That was great. And then I was able to start affiliate marketing through Amazon, went to Amazon, applied for the affiliate marketing there. Pretty easy to do. They give you a website, a landing page. You can basically, it's drag and drop anything that's on Amazon onto that page. You give that link out. They buy off of that link. You make a percentage of that. It's a very, very small percentage. But at the time when I'm just getting paid for paint, anything. At first it was paying my power bill, and then it was paying my car payment, and then it was paying my house payment. And who knows? And yeah, it could pay off your house in 10 years. Who knows? It's just you just got to keep going. And I feel like once you get the first little fill of success, you'll get the bug. And but yeah, never stop, because I didn't stop. I'm glad I didn't stop within those few months, and allowing that video time to mature. And I don't know what they found out about it. I mean, obviously with the YouTube platform, click-through rate, which you need a good thumbnail, and you need good audience retention. You got those two things, you got a pretty good chance, as long as the viewership is there. But yeah, I find that I'm categorized with a lot of other channels, like welding channels and bike building channels, American Chopper reruns. I know that I'm getting served up after those. You can really dive into the analytics and see where traffic's coming from. You can even get as smart as like, trying to gravitate to another audience that might be worth more, which is kind of a crazy thing, because everybody's worth a certain amount of ad dollars, how much, considering how much you spend, I guess, online. I really don't know all the metrics to that, but there's a lot of tricks, and I've learned a few of them along the way, and I just try to leverage what I've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really what you're doing today now, like, you're not so much, like I said, painting helmets or painting motorcycles anymore. Like, you're legit just like trying to, like, your main focus, like tomorrow morning, is like teaching people how to paint.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. My next thing is what am I going to do to add value and add to my content library?
And really, that's kind of like your focus. Like, if you teach, like, if you create content that's teaching people how to paint, all of the other things that, selling, tape or flake or paint guns or airbrush guns or whatever is all just kind of stemming from you just teaching people how to custom paint. Yeah, and that's all you're doing.
Show them how to use it and show them how easy it really is. That's like we talked a little bit earlier. You don't need to be an artist to do this job.
See, I don't think I have zero artistic ability.
Oh, you'd be surprised how much you really have. I thought when I first started custom painting 15 years ago, I thought, okay, there wasn't anybody around to really give me encouragement to tell me that like anybody can do this job. It was more like hush hush, like if you have a certain way you do stuff, you really don't want to tell everybody. If you use a stencil to create this skull, you really don't want to show that stencil. Like it feels like
it devalued.
It devalues it. That's how really, and I didn't know that. I mean, when I first started, I'm like, I'm going to be a custom painter where I can do complete color paint jobs, maybe a metallic job, maybe a blend, and then I didn't know how to tape out flames. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can make a living just doing that, more on like repairing the paint itself rather than customizing. But I could always customize with colors and stuff like that because I didn't have the confidence that I would be able to do it. I just thought that I'd be able to get by just by knowing what I learned from that point. I kind of thought, and this is a long time ago, I kind of thought that was it for me because I wasn't an artist. I can't. Now I can actually draw really well. And I just learned a couple of things as far as like drawing. Like I can freehand draw it like really, really well. And I never thought I could do that, but you don't even need that. Like if I was to freehand something, I would never do it. I would just never freehand. And that's just me personally, because it takes too long. I'm not going to get a good enough result. And if I was to create a custom artwork, I would just draw the skull on paper and literally make the stencil. Because then you got all your hard lines. You just got to put things where so it's really easy. I mean, you just got to find the artwork. And now I'm teaching how to, if you can't, if you don't feel comfortable with like going into Google search and finding a skull or something like that, you're doing a one-off job. I don't see it to be a problem. But you can leverage AI and stuff like that. I've plenty of times I need like a screaming skull, I'll do that and boom, pops me up a screaming skull. And I'm like, okay, so I'll modify it a little bit if I don't like it, print it out, create a stencil. That's one of the skulls. It's as simple as that. Really, a lot of it's just learning the paint. That's how it works.
Learning how to.
Yeah, that's and this is a long-winded answer to your question. I just try to create content, create value. And I figure if I do that, everything else will kind of just fall into place. Because, if I show how to use the product, if they're interested, they're probably going to look for that product on Amazon. Just search up Limeline. It's there. I make sure it's there. And I just try to add value at any point of the purchase as well. You're going to get videos. You're going to get QR codes that will take you into more videos and stuff like that. So I'm leveraging what I feel like a lot of companies, custom paint companies, are not doing. Either because of lack of, they don't have the knowledge, which they probably do. I don't know. A lot of those companies aren't painters. They haven't been painters of 20 years, So I'm leveraging that.
Yeah.
And just creating content. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems like you found like an avenue where there's kind of a hole in the market there, where there's a lot of paint companies and paint brands selling this or that, but they're not doing the work you're doing, and you've just kind of found that lane where it's worked for you.
Right.
They're selling the same products.
Yeah.
It's just they're not.
They're showing how to.
I mean, everybody wants to learn how to do something through the internet nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how society works now. Like if I wanted, like tomorrow morning, like if I wanted to learn how to, you know, I don't know, like lay brick, like if I wanted to build a house and do the brickwork myself, like the first thing I'm going to go do is go search for that on YouTube.
Yeah. And there's probably a channel dedicated right to that. You
Right.
know, and then they're just.
And then when I start buying tools to do that job and materials to do that job, I'm probably just going to believe whatever that guy told me works great because he just taught me how to do it. He says, I love this, you know, trowel, and I like these bricks, and I like this mix or whatever. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to buy all of that stuff.
Yeah. And the beauty about those kind of videos, they're evergreen content. And their evergreen is like they stay alive for a long time. Mm-hmm. Who knows how long? It kind of depends on how many videos would overlap that. But unlike, you know, social media, I feel like TikTok, you have a couple days. Stories on Instagram, you literally have 24 hours. And Instagram Reels, you have, I don't know this for a fact, 3 days. And if you put the right video on YouTube, you could have 10 years.
There. Yeah.
You could have 12 years. Mm-hmm. And I feel like building a platform on YouTube, you're building something you can give away. Like if I'm no longer around tomorrow, my YouTube channel is still going to make money, and it's still going to pay my kids and my family. That's what I love about that.
Yeah, that's something I've never thought about either. Like legit, like
Yeah.
if you kick the bucket tomorrow, if that thing's making say $1,000 a month or whatever it is,
Yep.
that's just going to your wife and your kids.
Right. I think if you happen to make a name for yourself and you do kick the bucket, those videos might even go a little more, you know? I'm kind of like a famous artist. You know, you don't get famous until you actually die.
Yeah, and
maybe
then everybody
that's
wants
the
your
case
stuff.
here.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh shit, we don't have Adam at Timewarp around anymore. We got to double up his videos.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like there's a lot of people out there. I mean, obviously you're doing very well. There's got to be a lot of people out there wanting to learn how to paint. I mean, do you have somebody that like comes to mind, like a success story, like
There's a ton.
that comes to mind, like they didn't know how to paint, they came to you or your videos or your products, and now they're creating some stuff that you're like, wow, that person like really has something going.
Yeah. You know what? And it happens more than I ever would thought.
Really?
Yeah. And very, very fast too. There's guys that have passed me. And my capabilities, I feel I'm more in the teaching. I'm not trying to be the best at anything. I would like to be the best teacher, I guess, if I was to be honest, but I'm not trying to be the best painter. That's maybe 10 years ago I had that mentality. I wanted to be the best, but no, just helping people out. But people have, I feel like they've been brought up to where they can actually start charging within 6 months. I've seen as early as that. Blows me away. Paint jobs look very similar to mine, which I love. You know, in fact, I'll go scrolling through the internet and I'm like, damn, is that my paint job? I was like, no, I know it's mine. And like, it's not quite there, but it's pretty flattering actually.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
that would be cool to see. Like
I mean,
to see like your inspiration in someone else's art.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. And sometimes almost exactly, which is fine. I mean, if you're going to do it and you're going to learn it, you might as well follow the process all the way through.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of that no matter what we're doing, whether we're building hot rod Harleys, cars, or whatever it is you're doing. Everybody is kind of emulating who they look up to, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I try and do things. I mean, you know, there's people that have inspired me, and I'm like, I want to do it that way.
Who inspires you? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
there,
that's all right. I mean, trying to think like, I guess it depends on what it is you're talking about.
Like, what would be the first inspiration, I guess, when you were, what would be the first impression?
If we rewind the clock back to, what year is it? Like, say 20 years ago. I mean, I was a Jesse James fan.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, and I still am. Like, love him or hate him. I think that you can't argue with the fact that, like, he is very talented and very skilled with everything he does, whether it be, welding, building, just his vision on things, like some of the stuff he does, like I still think today is top notch. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything he touches is like, it just turns to gold for whatever reason.
Right. Whether it's a motorcycle or if it's cutlery.
And
wow, I mean, I saw some of his stuff yesterday of his cutting knives for chefs, big name chefs.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, I can see that.
I mean, and that was early on, like back in. I mean, that was way back, 2001, 2002, like really early in the whole chopper craze, biker build off days. I mean, and there's some guys out there today that I like inspire to be like. I mean, I'm lucky enough to call this guy a friend, Brian from TPJ. Like, I still look at some of the bikes that he has built, and I just am in awe with like the artistry in them, the simplicity in the build, but like everything's there, everything works, but it just looks like almost like, like I've put some bikes together. I don't call myself a bike builder yet. I want to be one, but I'm not there yet. Like I've done some bikes, and like you get like the wheels and the suspension, you get the motor placed in it, and it's so clean and so beautiful without all of the rest of, oil lines and cables and all the other, kind of bullshit to make the bike work. That's how Brian's bikes look to me. But they run and go down the road that way. Yeah. And so I'm just like, I just love the way they look. And so like, I just think, and I don't want to downside it, but he just, like not as many people, like he's no Jesse James by any means, but like the work he does is just amazing. And so, but I mean, I draw a lot of inspiration from, like race bike. Like I just love racing. Like I'll look at a race bike and I see things that are like built a certain way or done a certain way because that's how they perform best on the track. And I just think it's really cool. And I just draw a lot of inspiration from that kind of stuff too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I can see, especially when you get into the technical stuff where most people would miss, like they just don't see the little things by working in the industry. I'm sure that you're able to point out, like me looking at a custom paint job, I can see flaws. I can see if a clear coat is laid a little wavy or has a little bit of orange peel from a mile away. I'm just trained at that.
Sure.
And same with you. I mean, and I mean, I'm inspired by other people now. It seems like I'm out of the paint. Like I really don't aspire to be anybody like the paint, but there's people that that run their brands and their Amazon companies and stuff like that. I actually look up to a whole different set of people than I used to. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way. And that's why I was saying, like, it depends on what it is you're asking. Like who inspires me. Like there's guys that have ran different brands or shops or whatever that I really look up to. I know a lot of guys like Boosted Brad or Death Metal Racing. Like I look up to like what I am impressed with him is that he used to be basically a custom painter, and like he would build some, put together some custom bikes, and he's transitioned his brand and his company into like just manufacturing a lot of parts. He still does a few paint jobs here and there and puts some bikes together, but he's doing those to create content and then selling his line of hard parts.
Right.
And he's been very successful at it. So that's inspiring to me. Like, that's something that like I wish I could do with my brand, and I'm trying to drive towards is I don't have to just sit here and do tire changes and oil changes. Like, I can push beyond that and inspire to be something different than that.
Exactly. And I think really, I mean, he probably wouldn't be where he's at if he didn't put all the time in. You know, I mean, there's certain things you just have to know. You know, I mean, certain risers that are you know, he saw something that maybe somebody else didn't see. But it's just experience. I feel like leveraging what you know, and it's hard to do that right at first when you really don't know anything. So it's like you have to put in your time.
Yeah. Kind of goes back to like when we were talking about our listener question is like, you know, you just kind of have to find your passion and then just dig in for a period of time.
Yeah, you just got to grind.
For some guys, it might be 6 months, and some guys, it might be 20 years.
Depends on how hard you grind, really. You can get 20 years of work done in 6 months if you obsess over something.
Sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, you definitely have to just kind of dig in and grind for a while and learn the little nuances of the industry and whatever it is you're doing. Custom bikes, repairing bikes, selling parts, custom paint repair, whatever it is, like, you got to learn the industry. And then with that knowledge, you can leverage that and try and make something of it.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it's not even the path that you ever would expect.
Yeah.
You know, and I never planned on making a brand. I never would have thought that. I saw the opportunity and I acted on it. Acting on it. That's the important part. Because opportunities.
It never ends, right?
Right.
Like,
well,
you can't just like put it in cruise control today and just let it ride, right?
some of it I can. Automation is getting much better. Mm-hmm. I feel like there will be a time where I can do that. I'm still probably a ways away from that. But it's acting, you know, because you'll come up with solutions, and a lot of people will come up with solutions to problems. And the next part is acting on that solution, doing something, making something available, whether the solution is a YouTube video or whether the solution is a part, mm-hmm. or maybe two parts that need to be sold together. For some reason, they're always sold together. I mean, but it's acting. It's acting on those certain things that you find along the way. And I'm my brains now that I have a brand, I'm just looking to grow and to create a solid brand where these particular products can work together. Mm-hmm. And they kind of, you know, and it's working so far, you know, for what I'm doing, but.
You always got to be on your toes though, and like be ready to pivot too, right?
Exactly.
Find something, you know, figure out like, oh, this isn't working. Like, what do I got to do to, you know, modify that, or whether it's a small tweak or you just got to completely ditch that idea and go a different direction.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a baby and it needs to grow. Like a lot of times things just need time.
And that takes patience, and that's where I think I struggle, because like if I start doing something and I don't see like immediate results. And for example, like this podcast, like it's like I almost feel like, okay, like episode 2, we should be getting 1 million views.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if we don't have 1 million views, like I ain't got time for this. And, you know, Jordan has to remind me all the time, like this stuff takes time. And I have a hard time with that. And I have to sometimes remind myself, like, this isn't going to happen overnight.
Yeah. It's not a race. It's a marathon, really. Mm-hmm. And you just have to keep on pumping it out, you know, and just keep at it, really. It's not stopping, because I could have stopped on my 6th video easy. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't made any money. I'm not monetized. I saw the big picture, you know. The big picture at that point was making other means of revenue besides custom paint, because it was, I was doing actually really well. Like I didn't actually need another source of income, but it was, I just, you know, really my friend kind of just brought some light to me, and really listening to people that have experience with stuff, it can mean a lot. And I was listening to him and I actually acted on it, and I'm so glad I did, because right now I'd probably just be a painter and I'd be happy, super happy, still living a great life. Mm-hmm. But now I'm building something that's bigger than me, because the day that I'm not here, I'm not painting for a fact. Those videos are going to run. My Limeline brand, I'm an FBA seller on Amazon. My products go usually to the warehouse and they get fulfilled by Amazon. I leverage that. And so I'm trying to keep it small, but make it big. That's, by leveraging, certain things, that help out with that.
So do you have, I was just curious, are you still like just a one-man band, or do you have anybody that helps you at all?
My wife,
Okay.
she'll run the orders that are not fulfilled by Amazon.
Okay.
We have a warehouse in Layton. I have our aunt, and a sister-in-law that does all like the packing, and we'll bring in the tape in bulk. We'll have somebody cut it and do all that stuff, and then we will package it and get it all ready to sell. Same thing with the flake; it'll get packaged and all the labels put on it and stuff like that. So I'm pretty much off hands with all of that. But at the initial, when I'm first building a product, that's what I really love to do, to be honest. If I could do anything all day, I would probably find products and then build a packaging for them. And then you're done and you get to look at something. You're like, whoa, this is like, and people are buying it. You're like, holy crap. Like, it's such a cool thing. It's like almost like doing a paint job, but even better. And I find a lot of joy in that. But yeah, so I got a couple of people that work piece rate. They work piece rate. They love it.
So they're just getting paid by the package.
Yeah, retired.
Or whatever.
Like the retired aunt, she can use the money. She literally does it on her couch. She'll pack the tape on her couch, does a ton of them, makes a good living. We're able to help the family out. I have 2 daughters. They're grown up now, 21, 23. I have 2 grandkids that I have to mention because I freaking love them. 3 years old, Asher, Adam, and we got a 11-month-old, which is Miles. So
That's cool.
That's
wild.
Asher's already.
How old are you?
I think I'm 44.
think?
You know, you get in the mid years and you kind of. I can remember when I'm 40. I can remember when I'm 30. I'm
now
44.
that you say that, I think, I'll be 43 here coming up pretty soon.
Oh yeah, so we're right there.
Yeah,
right in the same boat.
So the grandparent conversation has come up in our family because I have a 20. She'll be 24, or she is 24, and then a 22-year-old son. So the grandparent conversation has come up in our house. I'm just like, no, I don't want to talk about it. My wife's like, I'm baby hungry. I want a grandbaby. I'm like, no, just let them just grow up a little bit.
Yeah, it's quick. It comes fast.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you'll love it. It's
Don't
fun.
I tell wife, but I'm kind of excited for it too.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't blame you.
Don't tell my kids, I should say. Don't tell my kids that.
Well, and I grew up with. I raised 2 daughters and then getting 2 grandsons. It's like, what a blessing is that?
Yeah.
Like, I get the boys at the best time, really.
For sure.
Like, and they're the little one's still too young, but the 3-year-old, he's all about it. He's all about laying the leash down and
what? I mean, you're probably like the coolest grandpa ever.
I hope to be. Yeah.
Like rolling around in a nice car, like you're custom painting cool stuff. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I wish my grandpa was like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I got big plans for those kids.
Right.
They're gonna be living the good life if I have anything to do with it.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's cool. So I mean, on that, it sounds like you're pretty family oriented. Like, I mean, your wife's involved. Your kids are around. Like, have they? Like, I'm just curious, kind of from a personal standpoint, because I mean, I have 4 kids, and my wife works at the shop here, and I know that like what my journey has looked like, and some of the pros and cons of kind of being passionate about what I do, the amount of time I put into this place, how it's affected me and my family. I mean, has it been? Do you think overall it's been a positive on your family life? And was it the same like 15, 20 years ago as it is today?
No. I actually hold a little bit of regret. Man, in order, like we talked about, you have to grind it first. Mm-hmm. You gotta do that work. So it meant working every day, including Saturday, I would have Sunday off, but I missed a lot of time. You know, I tried to make it, I did make it to most of the dance recitals and stuff like that but to be honest, if my wife wasn't there to like, you need to be here. I'm like, I gotta pay rent next month. Like, I gotta pay my material bill next month. How is this gonna work? Like, and isn't
it funny? Like, I don't know if you felt the same way, but it felt like, yeah, you got like this big bill or whatever it is coming up, but that single day was like the make or break whether you're gonna like be able to pay that bill or not. Like in the moment,
right?
Because that's how I felt. Like I had a hard time just realizing that, like, if I just took a half a day, went to the dance recital, come back to work, everything's gonna be fine in the long run. But I just felt like in the moment, like there's no way I could take 4 or 5 hours off, because if I take that 4 or 5 hours, I ain't paying rent, or I can't pay my guys or whatever. Like that's how I felt.
I felt the same way. And I feel like that was the wrong way to feel.
I agree.
I could have busted my ass a little more the next day.
Right. Like looking back, like that time that you would have taken off probably would have meant more to your daughter than the few $100 that you would have maybe made in those couple hours.
Yeah.
But I'm guilty of the same thing. I carry a lot of regret. I found myself having a hard time getting out of that mindset, though. Like like we're sitting here, in this building, on year, I don't even know what year it is, 7 or 8. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But still feeling that way. Like if my wife comes to me this weekend and says, like, I need you to take a half day because we have whatever it is going on with the family, I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can. And I have not been able to break out of that mindset for whatever reason. And I tell myself, like, I sit back and I'm like, why do I think that way? Like, I got guys here. I got guys that I trust. They can keep the boat running. Like, why is it that I feel this like need to have to be here 10 hours, 12 hours a day? I don't know why that I feel that way still.
It's a tough thing. I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially men in our industry. Because it takes a lot. It takes a lot when you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a steady paycheck. And one day, I mean, if you clock in and clock out, you know what you're getting. You know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's you're in store for. If you're in your industry or my industry, I could have a return on the paint. I could have an accident or a paint reaction or something like that. And it's tough. There's a lot of stress. One thing that got me through a lot of the stress that I had, and somebody, I can't remember who told me this, but no matter what, things always kind of really work out. Like when in your life has things like, with money at least, when is it not really worked out? You'll find a way, one way or another, to get that bill paid and or do what you need to do. Why stress over something? And especially when you stress over something, the stress is definitely not helping. Mm-hmm. Stressing over, not going to your kids, function or something like that. I mean, it's just not worth it. You're gonna live to see another day. Everything works out in the long run, and I've had to tell myself that so many times. Like, it's still gonna work out. I'm gonna be alive tomorrow. I know this.
Right.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gonna make it work one way or another. I might have to work a little harder tomorrow. May be a little shittier, but
it always works out in the end. And I've found that, and I tell myself, I'm like, why was I so worked up or so stressed or so worried about whatever it was? Because then a week later, I'm like, it was really no big deal. But then the next time it happens, I'm just stressed or worked up about it or irritated or whatever, and I've struggled to kind of break out of that rut, and even still, like 8 years in, I mean, honestly, like even today, like one little thing goes wrong, like, oh, we misordered the wrong part. And I'm just like, oh, great. this is it. We're going out of business. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
like that's how I feel every day. And it gets tiring and exhausting to feel that way. And I have really tried, and I have not figured out the way to like just let those things just kind of roll off my back and just move on with my day and let them be. So
and then sometimes I even look at those problems as a blessing, because if this industry was really easy, for some reason, like nothing ever went wrong and it was easy to make money and it was just, everybody would be doing it. It would be
Right.
saturated.
right.
Like if custom paint was just as easy as painting your fingernails, there'd be a lot of custom painters and it'd be saturated,
Everybody
and I
would be doing
probably wouldn't be in business.
Sure. Yeah.
So I sometimes, like, when things are hard, there's a reason why people don't do what we do.
yeah.
And there's a reason why we make it past that.
And there is something to that, you know, because I've seen, you know, I've watched a lot of other like shops, you know, whether they're local or around the country that they've come and gone, and you're like, man, that guy was just blowing through money. He was taking off all this time, and now all of a sudden he's just gone, disappeared. Business is folded up, and I have this sense of like the first time I let my guard down, if you will, or kind of like relax, is like the start of the end. That's kind of how I feel. Like as soon as I quit stressing and quit grinding, that's the beginning of the end.
That's when things start to head downhill.
Yeah. And so I'm like I have the hardest time of like, oh, I need to take 4 hours off today to go watch my daughter dance today, because that's going to be the beginning of the end.
Right.
And I don't want that.
Yeah.
So that's
You got to
part
out
of-
hustle the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So-
never ending thing until I think a lot of businesses will grow out of that. I mean, it all depends on
I'm hoping
personality
I
and
can
stuff
get
like
there,
that.
and it's getting better. I mean, I can't sit here and just like complain like things are great. And
Well, it has to be better than what it was when you first started, right?
Sure.
I mean, like that's what a grind that is, and when nobody knows your name, and now, I mean, if you were to walk into this place not knowing you owned this or you've had any of this, I mean, I think you would have a different view. I mean, sometimes we just get caught up in the numbers and then the employees
Yeah.
and the money and the customers. It's like, yeah, you built something special that's inspiring a lot of people to do a lot of different things. Whether it's the podcast or whether it's, you know, helping people out on their bikes, and people like you is what this city needs. You know, that's without you, we don't really have anything else here. Like
Yeah.
we have the dealership. We don't have any. So if you think of that, you help a lot of people out. And
yeah, and I appreciate that, and that goes a long ways. I mean, and that means a lot. Like coming from somebody that's been in the industry for a long time and dealt with a lot of people, talked to a lot of people, and been around. So I mean, and I appreciate that, and it means a lot. So I wish it was that easy to just be like, tomorrow I could just be like stress free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, well, if you're
But-
not stressing, I don't think you're like, I don't know. You need a little bit of that, I think, to can't relax too much.
Well, and I think I've said it on the podcast in the past. I don't know, maybe not, but you know, I've heard, you know, at some point, like I heard a quote at one time, like successful business owners wake up every day thinking that today is going to be the day they go out of business. So they're going to hustle as hard as they can to make that not happen.
Yeah.
And the problem is I think I've taken that like too literally. Like you can't do that every day for 8 years and not burn out either. Like you have to learn to reel back, take a little bit of time, unwind, detach from the business, reset your mind. You know, that's the one thing that racing's been, you know, kind of allowed me to do is like when I go to a race, like I'm really not thinking about this place.
Oh, I bet not. I bet you're having the time
I
of
mean,
your life.
and I hope my daughters aren't listening or my wife isn't listening right now. But like, if I go to a dance recital, I'm just thinking about this place, and I shouldn't be, right? Like, I should be just like totally invested into my daughter's dance and like what she's doing and what's going on in the moment. And I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I carry some regret. Like I didn't do that for them, but
Yeah. Well, you're building something that is bigger than you. So think of it that way, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, you could be missing those things and literally not doing anything.
sure, you know, I could just, I mean, I look at some people like some of the, you know, the people that I worked in that manufacturing plant, like they were just a number. They clocked in the morning, they went to their station, they stamped their part out all day long, they clocked out and went home, and that's what they did. And that's okay. Yeah. Like some people, that's okay.
Some people love that.
And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
But I just wanted more than that. I wanted to create something bigger than that. And that's when I was sitting at the dealership, it just started to become like that.
Well, I think even in the dealership, didn't you have to work Saturdays and stuff too?
Sure.
I mean, there's if you were in a clock in, clock out kind of job, okay, and your daughter has some kind of a, you know, dance recital or whatever that we're talking about, it could be as easy as I just can't get the time off. You know, we've traveled some places with friends, and there's some friends that can't go because they simply can't get the time off.
It isn't because they won't allow themselves to take the time off. It's just legit. They don't have the time off.
They got a boss.
Yeah.
They got a boss.
Boss said, no, you got to be here.
So if you think of it that way, hey, I mean, if you're the boss, sometimes you got to be here. I mean,
that's also,
so it happens to everybody.
It does. But I mean, maybe that's why I feel a little bit guiltier. When I worked at the dealership, I work Saturdays. I work Saturdays. Sorry, I can't be at the I can't be at the football game. I can't be at the dance recital. Boss says I got to work Saturdays.
Yeah. You're fulfilling your duties.
And I'm the boss. And then I'm like, and you know, the excuse was always like, well, I got to be there. I'm the guy. Like, I got to be there. But I could have easily just been like, you know what? Here's the keys to the front door. You guys open it. You guys run it. I'll be here I'll be late. I'll be here at noon or whatever. I could have done that, but I didn't. So why didn't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all about the Benjamins. It really is. Like, it's too bad, right? Like, But
and it's not even the fact that I'm trying to get rich. It's just the stress of just being able to survive till tomorrow.
Exactly. Yep. Just survive.
You know what I mean?
That's what it's survival mode
yeah,
first.
it is about the Benjamins, but that's not in the sense of I'm just trying to pad my bank account and retire early. It's like the stress of just I want to be here tomorrow. So
yep.
Yeah.
People need you here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Really.
I don't know. That's enough doom and gloom.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, speaking of the my old friend Dane, his slogan when he first started his slogan was Sid's Speed Shop going out of business since 2010. He literally said it the best because that's how this industry is. It's like for him and then for me back then when we first started it. Every other week we're going out of business, dude. That's it. We're done. And he'd come to me. He's like, "Oh, dude, I'm done. That's it. I don't have enough. I don't have enough money. I can't do it. I can't even buy oil to do an oil change. That's it." He's like, "I'm gonna find a job," and then he'll make it. He'll make it.
Figures out a way.
Yeah. He'll find a way to get the oil. He had it. You know, I mean, you can scrounge it up and he make it work. But you know. Funny thing is that was his slogan, and it's so appropriate for the industry. Is really when you first start, you're really on the verge of going out of business, all the time.
Pretty much.
Usually, the beginning of the month after I got some money, and then pretty soon it's like, damn, I got a lot of money, and then bills come and I shouldn't have spent that much. You know, I don't have no money, so it's a roller coaster, and I don't know how your business, I know by being a business owner that it's just, it's a lot of stress, you know.
For sure.
And more than anything, you just don't want to lose. You don't want to be the one that has to shut their doors.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of pride in that. You don't want to be the guy that has to lock his front door because you had to. If I ever decide all right, I've had enough. I'm going out on my terms. I've got some money in the bank and I'm just kind of over it. That's one thing. But like if I have to lock the doors because I didn't do good enough, like that's a hard pill to swallow. And I don't want to have to deal with that one day.
Right. The thing is every year you get under your belt, I think you're just a little farther away from that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned Dane. Mm-hmm. That's a good segue. I mean, for our listeners, we've never talked about Dane on this podcast yet. And it's never really been brought up because I haven't really had a guest on that knew Dane. And I think if anybody knew Dane, it was probably you. And we could talk about that a little bit because, I mean, you guys had a really close working relationship together, probably more than I even know. But I do know that, like, you guys came on and were working together very closely, working out of the same shop. Mm-hmm. And you can give me some details on that because I would love to hear some of the stories about him. I mean, and I guess to kind of set the stage, if you will, Dane, Sid Speed Shop, if you will. I first heard about Dane before I even met him. And
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. He came to work at the Harley dealership that I was working at. He came in and was working at the parts counter for a little bit. He was just moved home from Phoenix after dropping out of MMI because he was too cool for it.
Yep.
Or knew more than everybody there.
Yep.
I don't even know what he was, like probably 19 years old, 20 years old when he was down there.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Came into the dealership just arrogant, cocky, no filter. And I think he just came to the dealership because he just needed to make some money while he was getting things going. I mean, he had his own little shop going on, his first shop over there on Pennsylvania Avenue where you were painting with him.
Yeah.
And I think that was my first kind of introduction and kind of found out who you were. And I'm also interested, like, in your history, like, is that really when you got into painting? What were you doing before that? Like, but to kind of go back on Dane, like, he came into the dealership, he got fired within a couple of months because, I mean, people would come into the dealership and be like, hey, I need this part, or I need to get this done on my bike. And he'd be like, oh, you don't want to pay these guys' prices. Just come over to my shop later. And I mean, as soon as ownership found out what was going on, they were like, hey, bro, you got to go, you know?
Yeah, that's funny.
And, I mean, but that just kind of just sums up him, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't want, like I said, we could talk about Dane. We both had a relationship with him. That's where I first got to know him, and then had a relationship with him. And, he passed away in a motorcycle accident 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm. It's been a little while.
And the impact he made in a short amount of time still blows my mind, though.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Something that, like, I aspire to be. Like, I look at myself like I'm 8 years in with my shop, and I still have not reached his level. And he was doing it for what, 3 years, 4 years?
He was doing it for, let's see, it was 4 years, I think, we had total under his belt before he passed away. But no, I think you have since passed him by far. You know, he maybe had one employee and was pushing out some stuff, but your facilities, you're
for sure.
You're on a bigger stage than he was. Although, if he was still around.
Oh, I think sky's the limit with that kid.
Unbelievable
that kid
potential.
The potential. And I often think about that, and I've talked to a few people. Like, just imagine if he was still around, what he would have accomplished and done if he was still around. Yeah,
and I really owe a lot to him. He didn't get me into paint. I had my paint shop before then.
Okay.
I started... I went to Salt Lake Community College. I traveled there For 2 years straight. I took a course on collision repair, and I also took a course on automotive refinishing. I got iCar certified, which is similar to what, like SAE? Is that like
like the automotive world?
automotive? Yeah,
Okay.
It's an automotive
For like the paint side of things?
Exactly. So I went through all that stuff, which it was lectures on just a bunch of the most boring stuff you could ever think of, seam sealer and different primers and all that stuff. But I did learn. I learned hands-on. I learned how to repair a car. I learned how to take it back to factory condition. And I did that for 2 years. I learned how to do it. I learned it really good. I worked for a body shop the last semester. I got kind of like a work release kind of a thing. I went to a collision shop. I hated it. It was, talk about high stress, you know, and nobody that works for a company should stress out this much. I can understand if you own something and you're working for something bigger, but if you're an employee, you shouldn't stress out that bad. You should be able to clock in. At least you can clock in and clock out. That's the nice thing about having a job. High stress.
Leave the stress there,
Yeah.
or the stress
leave
is
the
somebody else's stress, right?
When you leave, you should leave. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about
Yeah.
that. It was terrible job. I made pretty good money. Some of the painters there were making over 6 figures a year, believe it or not, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, learned that. Went and did some automotive or some restorations for a local guy down here in Ogden. Worked there for about a year. I learned a lot from him. Even after the whole schooling thing, you learn the basics, you learn the foundation, and then once you actually work somewhere, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But at least you have the foundation, and then that's when the learning really starts. So I learned a lot there within the couple of years that I worked there. And then me and my cousin Chad, we decided to go in together. We're like, okay, we're gonna paint whatever we can get to paint. Like, whether it's a trailer, whether it's a motorcycle, whatever we can do to paint, we're gonna do to paint. So me and him, I had the schooling, the knowledge. He had the willpower, and he worked hard. So it worked out really good. 2007, I think, was the year we started. We started out in the storage shed, kind of a unit here in Ogden. 2008 hit. Obviously, we know what happened there. People quit spending money.
It was a hard year for us at the dealership too.
Yeah, I bet.
The other crazy thing, in 08, we were on one of the main roads here in Ogden, like Riverdale Road. 08, the recession hit, everybody quit spending money, and Riverdale Road was under major widening construction. So people couldn't even get into our parking lot either. We got hammered.
Talk about, yeah.
So we were just nobody wants to come to the dealership, and if they wanted to try and get there, they couldn't because of the road construction. So we got hammered in 08.
Yeah.
And I started at the dealership in 07, and that was my second year, and I was just I thought we were all going home. I thought we were done.
Wow. I actually remember that, because that was the same year that I was like, do you guys need a bike painted?
Yeah. That's kind of my first introduction to you. I think you brought in some tins or some flat pieces that we hung up on the wall or something. You guys were just first getting into the industry, and that was about that time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were trying everything to get work. Going to the dealership, even painting bikes for cheap, just to put them on the showroom to show people. Nobody was going in there at that time, but so then it ended up just being me, because we just literally could not do it with two people.
Live on it. Yeah.
And we tried so hard. It kind of worked its way out. It was rough at that time, and then just so happens that's around, let me see, I don't know if I have my year straight, but it may have been 6 months to a year after that. Working by yourself it's good and bad. There it was terrible, because there wasn't really a lot of windows and stuff. So I felt like
you were
not a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of, I'm just trying to, I mean, back we were doing eBay stuff. That's how we made our money, was we put on eBay ads. We paint motorcycle parts. And usually eBay is for selling stuff, but we kind of
We're using almost like a classified
as a
type
classified,
thing?
yeah, and it worked. Phenomenal, it worked. Like it worked throughout 2007, 2008. Still kind of like that's when they had the tough time. People quit spending money, but then after that, kind of got back and going again, and I would get just enough to be able to pay the bills just right in time. It just seems like it barely worked out every time. I get a call like, okay, when are you sending your parts? Because I need to get this done in a week because I got my wrench. I didn't tell them this, but and then a lot of times they would say, oh, yeah, I want the exact same thing you just did, the skulls and fire. Like that's what I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, I can do that. I can do that same skull, I can do that same fires. And the nice thing is that they were, if being internet cells, I could do the same paint job that I was comfortable with and fast at. And I didn't have a whole lot of, I really didn't think I could do like the complicated paint jobs. And this is all before, it's not before Metal Flake, but it's before the craze kind of came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what actually brought that into the story was like, so I was kind of there. A kid pulled up, Sid Stalker, Dane Stalker, looking for a job. Probably the same thing he was doing at Harley at first. He's looking for a job. He had it dressed up. He pulled up on his sporty chop bobber, we called him at the time, and no kickstand. He literally, it was just a raw bike. Bare metal. The bike's name was Rita. It's actually the bike that he passed away on.
Yeah.
He had that the whole time. You know that bike.
Yeah.
It changed a couple of times. It morphed into different stuff, but still the same bike. He came in, had his resume, had his Dickie shirt buttoned all the way to the top. And he's all, yeah, man, I'm looking if you guys are hiring. I'm like, fuck it, I'm barely even making it here, dude. And I'm working out of a storage shed. I'm like, no, man.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know he came to you.
He came to me looking for a job.
Wow,
yeah.
I never
and I'm
knew
all,
that.
dude, I am in no position to give anybody a job. Nor do I have the money. I don't have the work. So, but what I do have is I have space. Because funny thing is right before things got slow, things got really good. So we actually got two units that we merged into one.
Mm-hmm.
I was now committed to a lease of a double payment, and I had some, and I actually at that time I was looking to, I kind of wanted to be the one guy that does everything.
Yeah.
Those
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want anybody to do anything on these bikes. I just want to be able to learn everything and do everything in-house myself. That just not, it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's some people that pull it off. Like you mentioned Boosted Brad, he's multi-talented.
Sure.
But if you, I just couldn't hack. I couldn't hack it personally. I couldn't hack. We did build a bike.
It's a lot. Yeah.
We built a XS 650, and this was our answer to slow paint work. This was our filler work.
Yeah.
That's like, where's where we're going to fill stuff in. So I was doing a little bit of actual bike building, and I actually built my first bike. Really wasn't a bike builder, but I built my first XS 650 with the help of the TC Bros. And parts like that, welded on a hardtail, pretty simple to do. But at that point, you're a bike builder, man. I built a hardtail on this iron head, and then on this XS 650. He came in looking for a job, couldn't do it. I did have space. I offered him, I'm like, dude, I actually kind of like you, because he came in, he was really charismatic. Like,
oh, for sure.
Man, I mean, like, the funny thing is most people kind of got the wrong vibe off of him because he was loud and he kind of said what he wanted to, and he was somewhat obnoxious. Man, you get him one-on-one. I don't know if you've ever had him one-on-one. One-on-one, he's a really genuine person. He was a really genuine person.
I had a couple of one-on-ones with him, both at the dealership and then after he left there. Probably not like you did, but yeah.
I think I got the hard one-on-ones because I got the one-on-ones where shit's hitting the fan.
Sure. Yeah.
I also got to know the side of him that wasn't the same as what other people saw. Mm-hmm. The beauty about him was he could bring people, like a lot of people didn't like him at first, but once you get him close, you're like, oh man, I kind of like this kid. He's good stuff. Mm-hmm. He would bring the most opposite people together. He'd be friends with a computer engineer or a doctor or something, such a weird thing. And then it would be like one of the Sundowners or something like that. He just had the connection with people. He knew once he got you in, he could really sweet talk you. And it wasn't like fake. I feel like a lot of the stuff that was a show was everything that everybody didn't like about him.
Yeah.
But he was just he was an inspiration to me because when he came, asked for a job, I did give him a spot there. It gave me somebody, like, it really lighted a fire under my ass. He's like, dude, you metal flake? I'm like, I don't really do metal flake. I just do skulls and fire. Black base coat, skulls and fire, realistic fire, and some candy over the top. People are loving it. So he got me to do my first metal flake job.
Okay.
Because
I remember, like, he worked at a couple of like chopper shops in Phoenix while he was down there.
Yes, he did. He worked. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. He actually worked at Fastlane.
Yeah.
He became really good friends. I wish I could remember their names. Great people. No, but great people. They actually took him in. Kind of helped him out, and they're kind of doing the chopper shop thing there. Came here. Rented out. Well, he didn't rent it out. I kind of just like, dude, I got the space. I'm not doing anything with it. Let's see if you can make something happen. And then I thought, like, if he's building bikes, they're going to need paint work. And that's exactly what happened. He was able to get jobs in there, even though he wasn't very experienced.
Oh,
he made a lot of mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, he didn't tell anybody. Well, he'd only tell a few people this. Is yeah, the first thing they taught me was how to properly install a cotter pin. And that's when I walked out. I was like, well, that's a pretty important part, actually, because you need the cotter pin in there to make sure your wheel don't fall off. I'm pretty sure he had a wheel fall off, so I don't know. But over time, he was a better talker and business owner and entrepreneur than he was a motorcycle mechanic any day.
Oh, talking was his gift.
Talking was his gift. He could get people in the door.
Well,
and
And I mean, I thought like he was either a love or like 100% love and loyalty to guy. There was no in between with him.
Yep.
Like he either like pissed you off and you didn't want anything to do with him, or you were on his side to like the death.
To the max.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it felt like the longer that he was in business, the more people he started to gather on his side.
Sure.
Like he had, well, you saw his funeral. It wasn't a funeral. It was just a party.
Like yeah, I mean, I was there, and it's like, I mean, as morbid as it sounds, like I was saying, like I don't know that I've reached his level. Like if I went out and got in a motorcycle accident tomorrow, I don't know that there would be that many people at my funeral party. Like that dude touched and affected so many people in a short amount of time. It still blows my mind today.
Yeah. Because for some reason, when you talk to him, it felt like when you got the real Dane, you're like, wait a minute, this guy I like this guy.
Well, he was just real and raw, and he just said it how it was supposed to be said. Like he just, he didn't hold back. He didn't sugarcoat. He just, like, if he told you you had a stupid idea, or if you had a stupid idea, he would just tell you, that's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have any problems with saying that right to your face.
Yeah, I hurt my feelings a lot of times.
Yeah. Like
But
he
it
was
was
just
right.
real. And that's just how it was with him. Like he was just real. And some people it rubbed the wrong way. But I think a lot of people were like, this dude is just like the real deal. And like he's not gonna sugarcoat it. He knows exactly what he wants, he knows exactly what he sees, and he's gonna speak his mind no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really blessed to have him in my life. Even though it wasn't for that long, I think about him all the time.
For sure.
He's actually, sounds crazy enough, he's still here.
For sure.
He takes other forms to me. Mm-hmm. I see him in other ways, but it's all the time. It just happened to be last Thursday. It happens. It happens in certain times. I'm really aware of. I try to be aware of stupid little things like that, and I feel like people that have such a strong personality, they don't go away. even when they're gone, they don't go away. It's
yeah,
pretty
he's
amazing.
still here. I mean, I still think about him a lot. I mean, and I, you know, it's funny because I talk to a lot of people that come in the shop here, and they talk about him a lot. His name comes up so much. Or I see bikes come in my shop that have his stickers on them or his logos or whatever still all over them. And, you know, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that their motorcycle is the last bike that Dane ever worked on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've heard that story so many times. I'm like, it just makes me chuckle, but that was the effect that he had on people, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, you know, he was an inspiration for me. You know, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, like inspiration. You know, who inspires me, and I would be lying if I told you he wasn't an inspiration to me. I was just a guy who went through MMI. Got funneled into that dealership mindset. I got a job at a dealership. I was a service writer. I was a technician. That was what I knew. That was my safe spot. I saw him come. I saw him go. And then after a few years, I'm just sitting in a dealership feeling like a number, feeling like was not really doing anything that was impacting anybody or anything. I was like, man, if that kid could do it, I could do it. You know, not to take away from him, not to say that I'm better than him, but like, if he could go out there and make it happen, so could I. And I would be lying if I told you that he didn't play a part in where I am today.
Yeah, I think he's affected a lot of people. Definitely where I'm at, I wouldn't be, you know, if he was still around, I would definitely be in a different situation. I'm not sure what it would be. I found myself in a pretty good situation right now. Sure. I like where I'm at. I always think back to what would happen if that wasn't. Would I be better? Yeah, I don't know. Like,
you never know. And I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
I could just, without him, maybe the light would have never turned on. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be here.
I think I would be out of business. Like, I think the darkness in that old shop finally would have got to me too, you know? But yeah, I mean, it sounds dumb, but I really feel like he was supposed to be in my life. And for that short period of time, he lit a fire under my ass, helped me out in so many different ways. But I couldn't be more thankful for him.
For sure.
And I think a lot of people, I think we're just inspired by him.
For sure.
Yes.
I totally agree. And I'm one of them.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's good to hear. You know,
and still am. Like you know, I think there was a weird period here when we first opened that like we were almost trying to ride, because we opened in 2015. He passed away in 2013. There was almost, and maybe it was made up in my mind, but I felt like there was this like stigma of like, I was like, okay, he's gone. I can like jump in and take over what he left behind, or you know what I mean?
I didn't feel that way. I did feel like there was a opening, definitely an opening for somebody. I'm just glad you're here, because without you, Ogden doesn't have anything. Like, we had Sid, that was it. It went away.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Ogden's
now we
not
got something back.
I mean, Ogden's it's not like a big city. But
Yeah,
there's
we
a lot
have
of
some
people.
surrounding cities too that would
Sure.
also incorporate that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and there's a need here to service people and take care of people, and you know, whether it's you need an oil change or you want a custom bike built, whatever it is. And
right.
when he was gone, like it was never oh, he's gone, like now's my opportunity. It was more, man, that kid inspired me to get out of my safety zone in the dealership where I could clock in and clock out, and I know I'm going to get paid every 2 weeks, to just leave that and venture out and do my own thing. Like, it was more of an inspiration than, a riding of his coattails,
Right.
if you will. And maybe I made that up in my own mind.
I think you did.
That maybe
mean,
I thought Adam was thinking that, or so-and-so was thinking that. Maybe it was just more my insecurities thinking that than reality.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you first came to, we had a shop on Washington Boulevard, and we did, me and Ryan Fridley, another one, my best friend actually. We did some bike builds there,
Sure.
usually one-off stuff. We did some eBay sales and stuff like that. Nothing too serious, but you actually came in and you said, this is what we're doing. And we're a motorcycle shop, this is what we're doing. This is what we plan to do. And it was nothing like we weren't changing tires. We weren't changing oils, but I just thought it was really cool that you would come down and actually say something like, this is what we're doing. You asked us for, I think you even asked us for some advice. I'm like, I don't have any advice at all, but it was definitely very respectful. So
Yeah.
if you do think that there was anything as far as you coming in and taking up a spot that might have been somebody else's, that's not the case in anybody that, for me or anybody that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can pretty much lay that one down to rest, because anybody that would care would be me or him. Other than that, I mean, we were here first too. We've been doing it for a long time.
And you and Ryan, and Ryan's another guy that I have a lot of respect for, and a lot of, he's a real dude. Like I have a lot of respect for Ryan.
Yeah.
You guys were kind of running your shop down the road here when we started, and it wasn't that I wanted to take over. It was like, I just wanted to be like you guys. Like I had a lot of respect for you guys just doing your thing, putting it out there and trying to make it happen.
Right.
And there was more respect than say competition or trying to take over or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, that respect was definitely felt. And yeah, we've always been a supporter of you guys, and we love what you guys stand for. And we love to see that you have taken it to racing, and everything else. That's kind of like, I feel like Dane would have took it into stunt riding. If you were to ask me, I think Dane he was getting into stunt riding. That was before. I think he was
Dane was stunting before stunting was stunting.
Right. It was only done with the bullet bikes. It wasn't.
Dane was wheeling Harleys 10, I don't even know what year, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
2009, 2010-ish.
Yep. Jumping Harley.
Stuff.
Like, I'm gonna build a Harley to jump, a Sportster. I'm like,
Yeah.
What for?
Yeah.
What is this for? What is this?
Yeah.
And it's before you see anything like that.
That was one of the things that, like, me and him, we talked a lot about, because at that time I was racing a lot of motocross at that time, and I was still working at the dealership. And he's like, I'm going to build this Sportster, tall suspension, like high exhaust, like moto bars. I'm like, I am too, bro. And like, I built one while I was still at the dealership, and I built mine with like some legit like dirt bike, like pro circuit mufflers and like dirt bike bars, like before all that stuff was made for Harleys. And me and him, we talked a lot about that stuff, because he had like ridden dirt bikes and raced and stuff like that. And we had that kind of common connection. Me and him went back and forth a lot on that stuff.
Yeah.
And to look back now, like to see the scene, like with, hooligan dirt track racing and just tracker Sportsters and stuff like that, to see where it is today. Me and him were talking about that back in, 2010, 2011. And both of us built bikes. I remember there was one time, we went out, he was on that white Sportster he built, and I was on that Sportster I built, and we went out in the West Desert and was just rallying them out there in the desert together.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it was like one of the coolest things I've ever done at the time. And we were just out there just ripping our Sportsters out in the like ripping them around berms and drifting them in the dirt and jumping them and stuff. And this, like I said, it was probably 2010, 2011, maybe 2012. I don't know when it was. I start losing track of time, but yeah, it's just I still look back at that night that me and him went riding together, and it's one of the coolest nights of my life.
Yeah, and you got the real Dane that night.
For sure.
You got the real guy.
Yeah. Like, and I can't remember who it was. There was somebody, like, we stopped somewhere and like they were doing some photos of his bike, you know, at like some farm. Like there was like, you know, this like barn with like a bunch of graffiti on it. Like we stopped in there, like it was dark, and like we all like, there was like a few of us there, and we all like pointed our bikes with our headlights like onto his bike, and it was like a little photo shoot. And like, as much as I like he was just a rock star from the get-go, right?
Yeah, how the hell does that happen, really?
Like I was just building it. Like I was just doing it because I enjoyed doing it. Like he just had this, like he just knew what he was doing, like from the get-go.
Yep.
Like he had it all figured out.
Yeah, he lived very, very fast.
He
lived
fast.
very, very fast. And I think that's, you know, obviously one of the reasons why he probably might not be here, because he lived so fast. And when I say that, it's just incredible how much he got done in those couple of years, and how many people he was able to connect to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, I think about him a lot. We had a couple of times that I still think about together, in the dealership, after he left the dealership, riding together a couple of times. I don't think I ever had the opportunity, or, you know, to get to know him like you probably did, working with him side by side in close quarters at your first shop there.
Yeah.
You know,
I got the real Dane just like you got, but I got the back end part of it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
You probably got a little bit of the bad stuff, you know, the stress, or, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
he was stressed out, just like I mean, it's a stressful thing.
You never saw it though.
Yeah.
I mean that you know. So yeah, I mean, I still think about him a lot.
Yep. He's made an impact. And it's not really a sad thing. It's a blessing that we were able to have him here in Ogden.
Oh, for sure.
And he changed a lot of lives, and it made things happen.
For sure. Yeah. So he's still affecting lives today.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty cool to feel like, you know, we had the opportunity to share some of that time with him.
Yeah. And I'll meet people that have met Dane, and you'll find them less now. But I always like to hear it. You know, I always have the time to listen to stories about him and what other people thought of him. And yeah, what a great thing. Yeah, it's
for sure
blessed.
Cool. Well, getting almost 2 hours into this thing.
Oh man, we're talking.
And we're rolling. Yeah.
A lot of it was about Dane too. That's awesome. I'm glad that we were able to do that.
Like I said, it's one thing that, you know, for our listeners, I have not talked about it yet. I don't know if they know the story. If they don't, they should look into him.
Right.
There's still a few things out there on, you know.
You'll find the Cycle Source magazine. That he made it maybe in there. And then you might even find his old blog spot.
Yeah.
in there still, Sid Speed Shop blog spot. But yeah, what a great guy.
That was a long time ago, though. It was all like, you know, really early social media stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, he actually is the one that turned me on to Instagram. And I really wish I would have doubled down when he told me to, because that was the early days when it was easy to get in and,
kind of make a name.
Make a name for yourself.
Really,
I had a late start, you know. So
yeah, don't tell me about it. I didn't start till 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you're like, what is this thing? Wait a minute, I should be doing this.
Yeah. I was way late to the game.
Yeah.
So, so cheers, cheers to Dane.
Yep.
So if people want to learn how to paint,
that's what I'm here for.
Where do they find you?
Best place to find me is on YouTube if you want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think last time I counted, I have 160 videos with my lives. I go live every Thursday night, 7 p.m. California time. Timewarp Custom Paint on YouTube. Basically, I just paint random stuff. Sometimes I'll paint a tank. Sometimes I'll paint a fender. Last week was a mailbox. The week before that was a dog bowl. I'll have to mention this. We did paint a custom dog bowl, like Louis Vuitton style, with some variegated leafing, metal flake, root beer brown candy paint. We were able to raise a little over $1,300 for homeless pets. Because the cool thing is if you do a live on YouTube, you can just link a nonprofit with it. And then all the super chats and stuff go towards that. We were able to do some giveaways and stuff like that. We usually do giveaways some nights, but maybe, I mean, if you're looking to do custom paint, maybe looking to make it a career, look into it. I mean, Thursday nights, you're going to learn a lot. You can ask questions. We'll answer them. You can binge all the stuff I have. I pretty much talked about anything and everything that has to do with custom paint. I am working on, every Thursday and Friday for a couple hours, I do work on an online course. I'm building up all of the information I need for that. Trying to build something high quality, something that will get you into the paint game and start making money. Giving those people the foundation of how paints work, what paints do what guns to use, what compressor, what air compressor, and how to do these certain techniques. One thing I do want to say to everybody is you don't need to be an artist to do this kind of stuff to a certain level. I paint murals. I can draw a little bit, but back when I was painting murals, I didn't draw. I didn't do any of that. I relied on the tricks of the trade, which there's so many of them, to be able to get these results. And literally, I can teach anybody to do whatever they want. They just have to have the willpower, and they have to have the time and the effort to put in to doing the practice, to learn the instruments, to learn how to pull the tape, and to learn how the paint works. And you got it. I mean, it's not hard. It's really not hard. And if you think you can't do it, you're wrong. If you think you can't do it, give me a call. You'll find my number somewhere. I'll talk you out of it, because you absolutely 100% can do it. You just have to have faith. And like I said, you just have to have the time and the willpower. So
the passion, right?
And the passion. And I feel like it would be hard not to have the passion.
Yeah.
Because paint's such a visual thing. It's like you paint something and you get to see something. It's like, I did this.
Like immediate satisfaction type thing.
And the sad thing is about motorcycle paint is it gets the majority of the attention. Like you probably see it if you have a custom painted bike. Everybody's going to ask, who did the paint work on that? It's like, how annoying does that get? Really?
Yeah.
Like,
what about the rest of what went into the build?
What about all the rest of this? Like, I welded that thing up. That's custom. Like, oh no, look at the paint on this thing.
Yeah.
We do get more credit than we deserve. But it's because it's so visual. And then the fact that it's so visual really makes you get addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like, I created something that's so beautiful, especially when it's metal flake and candy paint. It's like you're creating something that most people can't do.
Yeah.
And that's really the easiest thing to do. It's like as long as you know the techniques, the layering process, and all that can be learned, really. So YouTube, Timewarp Custom Paint would be the best place if anybody's looking to learn. And then just watch out there'll be an online custom course that'll take you all the way through.
So on YouTube, pretty big on Instagram, huge on TikTok, right?
Yeah, I started on TikTok, so yeah, that's not to run this thing too long. I started TikTok because I have two daughters. They did TikTok. 2020, I'm like, I listened to a podcast. This is the next thing, so I did it. In fact, right where I was sitting, when I figured that out, I did my first TikTok, set up an account, set it up. Way better results than I had on Instagram, even though they didn't have the Reels then. But I had a little bit of videos set up. And then once Reels came out on Instagram, I was already set up. In fact, I knew the day it was coming out.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of those subscribers that I got is because I was, for the first time in my life, early to the game of social media when it comes to Reels. Reels came out, I already had content. It was all ready to go.
Yeah.
All I had to do was post.
Just go.
And then it was go time. And people were like, by the time people figured out what Reels was, I've already had like 50 posted.
Yeah.
And it was they were just killing it. Some with 10 million, 15 million views that would pump up the subscribers. Whether that's a good thing or not, I feel like that's sometimes a bad thing, but growing that fast, I feel like growing organically, and you don't want people to follow you for no reason. you really
Right.
want. You
want
want
them
people
to
to
be
follow you
engaged.
for a reason.
Yeah,
And I feel
yeah.
like that, it was a blessing, but a curse at the same time. Now I have a standard that usually you can't hit anymore because maybe the algorithm's acting a little different because you're not quite as engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would encourage everybody, you know, whether you want to paint or not, if you're just interested on how things are done, like go check out your page on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. Just check out the process and watch it. And for those of, you know, those people that want to get into painting, like I think it's awesome that you're out there showing, you know, giving out that knowledge that you had to grind for 10, 15 years and figure out. And now you're just willing to just share it. And
Yeah,
and
feel
some of
so
those
good.
people, like you said, like within 6 months can be making some, you know, creating some real, you know, money-making projects, whether it's motorcycles, helmets, cars, dog bowls, or whatever it is they want to paint. They can use your experience to generate that. So I would encourage people to check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's great stuff. I you know, hats off to you for what you're doing, where you've gotten from 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, it's inspiring. It's huge. I mean, hats off to you for what you've done. So
I appreciate that.
yeah.
So even if you're looking to paint your own bike,
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple as that. If you're looking to paint your own bike and you don't have the money to do it, and you have the time, I mean, do it.
can
You
do it.
might end up loving it. It might do, but your
Yeah.
buddy's bike. And
You never know.
yeah.
You know, you might paint your own bike, and that might be the spark to a wildfire of a whole new career. You never know, man.
And it has happened so many times. I can tell you over and over again how many people have sent me emails or sent me pictures, even called me saying, "Hey, man, me and my family with my daughter watch your lives every Thursday night," and that means so much to
Yeah.
me. Like people can say, people say, "Oh, look at that custom paint job. You know who painted that?" And I could say, "Yeah, I painted that." "Oh, that's so good. I've never seen anything like that good." That doesn't really affect me much anymore. And it's pretty sad. Really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, I mean, I'm immune to people saying I'm good at painting. It doesn't mean that much to me. I'm a good painter, you know, really. That's not, but if somebody can say, "Dude, I am now a professional custom painter. I'm supporting my family. I am now inspired and I just can't learn enough. And I can't just paint, I can't paint enough. I can't quit painting." It's just so, they love it so much, and I know exactly how they feel because I came from the same spot. Like
Yeah.
I said when we first started this interview, there was times in the booth where I painted something and I literally cannot, like I'll look at it, I'll walk out of the booth, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to leave the shop. Okay, I'm gonna go back in there and just take a look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, I painted that. Wow, painted that. Driving home, oh man, you won't believe what I painted today. This is so awesome. You know, like, I don't know if I can pay my rent, but I painted something so crazy. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's great. It's a great feeling, and I hope to inspire many more people to do it, or just show people what's possible, and it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think it's great. I think it's awesome what you're doing. You know, like I said, hats off to you for sharing a lot of the knowledge that you put in the time to learn, figure out, and want to teach that. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's only going to make our industry grow, whether they're painting motorcycles, cars, boats, whatever it is they want to paint.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. So thanks for everything you do. You know, so yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Don't forget to, you know, go on, subscribe, give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Check out our website, tuckerspeed.com. Hit us with any messages, questions you got. We'd love to help you out with all your parts needs, and we'll see you guys next episode. Thanks, Adam.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Hi, man. Thanks.
Thanks.